Ladies and gentlemen, the Cursed and Coping thing is now in session. How you doing? I am Doctor Really Long Name. Um, we all just got our doctorates this week. Everybody celebrate. Yes,
Yay!
yes.
Do we
Doctorates all
have a
around for everybody. So that's wonderful. Doctor McColley Fuck, how are you? How are things?
vibing? We doing good?
Congratulations on your PhD.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Congratulations to you as well.
Thank you, thank you. Courtney, our resident specialist here with borderline personality coordinating disorder. How are you? How's your doctorate?
Good, it's good.
Wonderful. And our resident clown on clown psychiatrist, Tango. She has a doctorate incoming. She hasn't accepted her award yet. So um
She's just the unit clown at this point.
right. She's our clown practitioner, but we're here for it. Um so this one is a near and dear to all the people here's heart because we are the BP crew of Kirsten Coping. The other ones maybe BPD too, but we're the ones that have like an actual piece of paper that say, "Hey, we have this shit, and this is what it is." So we're the people that live with it every day. We're in different parts of our own BPD journey, and BPD is a lot of different things. Um, and we'll talk about all those things. I think today. I think probably the first thing we're going to cover is what is BPD and what are some of the most common misconceptions about it. Um, and in my own travels, in my own doing kind of therapy and all that stuff or whatever, I ran this past my own mental health professional. Yeah, I know, right? Mental health professionals seeing mental health professionals. That's pretty common actually. I think the crazies seeing crazies is I mean, as the title kind of says, is we the hosts are the guests, and we're also the patients. So the crazies are running the thing. So that's kind of what we're doing here.
Yes, we're changing the world of psychiatric.
Yes, psychiatric.
Yes,
Yeah,
that. We're in charge now, hoes.
yeah. The inmates are
How
officially
the
running the asylum.
turntables have turned. Whatever.
The turntables.
Husband, how do you say it? Your
How the
tables have
tables have
turned
turned.
backwards.
Tango says she's just a unit clown like Robert Williams. She is definitely our Patch Adams for sure. So I think we'll start. We'll start with the DSM-5 criteria is what I figured we would start with because most people don't even know exactly what BPD entails. They just kind of know what they've heard, they think what they've been passed along, and a lot of that has been misinformation. And so I just want to start with the most succinct thing that I think is solid information, and this is literally from the Diagnostics and Statistics Manual for diagnosing mental health disorders. This is the 9 criteria. If you meet 5 of these, you can be literally found to have BPD in some things. And as my mental health professional put it, yes, these things might be all part of something else. Like most people like to push off because they necessarily are kind of reluctant to have BPD or to think they have BPD. But if you qualify for the 5 out of the 9, or the 6 or 7 or 8 out of 9, like it might be part of some of these things might be part of other things. But at that point, you do have this thing as well. And as BPD was explained to me, it is just a mood disorder where you cannot manage your emotions, and in not manage your emotions, these things get triggered. So these are the 9 things, and we'll go down them. You can do the checklist for yourself quietly, whoever's keeping score at home, and then we can go into these more and kind of the misconceptions and whatnot. I have each thing that'll give kind of some examples and everything. And if people have more questions about each one, we can kind of go down them and see what they entail. So one is frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment, a pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships characterized by alternating between extremes and idolization and evaluation, also called splitting. Um, 3 is identified disturbances, markedly and persistently unstable self-image or sense of self. Um, impulsivity. Number 4, impulsivity in at least 2 potentially self-damaging areas, i.g., spending, sex, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating, those sort of things. There's a million of the reckless behaviors that people have. 5, reluctant, recurrent suicidal behavior, gestures, threats, and or self-mutilating behavior. 6 is affective instability due to marketed reactivity of mood, i.e., intense episodes of dysphoria, irritability, anxiety, usually lasting from a few hours, rarely more than a few days. 7 is chronic feelings of emptiness. 8 is inappropriate or intense anger or difficult controlling anger, uh, i.e., frequent displays of temper, constant anger, recurrent fights, physical fights, or even mental fights with spouses, whatnot, and things like that. Also goes with splitting. And number 9 is transient stress-related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms, which I know a lot of that sounds like medical mumbo jumbo, but there's a lot of poignant things in there. So if you're keeping score at home, I can tell you I am 9 of 9, the poster boy. So here we are, and as the thumbnail does say, we are the poster children for BPD.
I'm
So
7 and my husband is 6, but he's not officially diagnosed because
okay,
he won't go to the fucking therapist.
well that's a problem to begin with for another show, I think. Courtney, do you know what your score was?
6.
6. Okay. And Tango, do you have a number? It's a number somewhere.
Right there.
6. Okay, so she's 6. Okay, so
Fuck
shout
yeah.
out me for being
6,
better at
6,
BPD
6.
than all of you guys. So no, literally I am 9 out of 9. I'm just kidding. But so yeah.
Is there anything to
So
do with that?
what is in hearing that, before we get into like kind of the questions of what all those things mean, does anybody have any misconceptions that they know of or like have heard or were told personally for BPD? Like what are some of the things that, like, I know because a lot of things get told to people about BPD, and a lot of it's not true.
Everybody says it's just fucking mood swings and irritability, but it's really not. It goes deeper than just your mood and your emotions. Like, homie,
Mhm.
there's a whole part of your brain that should be lit up, but when you have BPD, it's all dark there.
Well, and it's because you choose not to manage your emotions. And I mean, okay, at its simplest core, it is a mood disorder. Yes.
Yeah.
And it is essentially not managing your emotions. But all those things that were listed were things that get triggered when you cannot manage your emotions. And they cause you to misuse your brain in ways that like are marketably bad, obviously. Courtney, what's a misconception that you have or have heard of BPD?
Um, you can't survive dating someone with BPD.
This
That's
is
like
true.
the biggest one I've ever heard in my life, that BPD people are the hardest to love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes it's true. It's hard sometimes, but
Some
it's not
BPD people are hard
impossible.
to deal with, but that I also heard that that BPD people were just impossible to deal with, which is not true. Like, I mean, obviously, like I deal with a lot of BPD people all day, every day. I hear
Literally.
literally told my therapist how much of a good thing it was that I do deal with these people because they understand where I'm coming from. And Tango's is, if you have BPD, you are bipolar, which obviously is incorrect as well. Um, the letters BPD inherently do get also transposed as bipolar disorder, and people think it's just mood swings, like Tess said as well. It's kind of the whole
No.
thing of that. Like people hear mood disorder and they assume they automatically think of bipolar because they think that's the only mood disorder you can have, and it being a disorder is kind of like um, it is a
BPD is one of those that mimic other things too. So everybody out here self-diagnosing, saying they have BPD, homie, you could have something completely fucking different, but
well,
have the same symptoms.
yeah. Well, then that's why my mental health professional said, like, yes, you could it could be part of autism or ADHD or even bipolar, because I do have similar things that cross over
Yeah,
with my bipolar. But if you have like 9 of 9 things like I have, like you may also just have
exactly.
that thing too. And it's hard to tell, and that's why you need a mental health professional, because their job is to essentially read through those things to
Guide you.
it takes 6 to 9 months to accurately diagnose somebody with BPD and the severity. So like it's not a just see you one time and go, oh yeah, you have BPD. It's one of those things like you might have it. Now I need to talk to you weekly and talk to you on a regular basis to see where your mood falls and those things fall.
Sometimes it
Yeah,
takes even longer. It just depends on what doctor you're talking to and how they fucking feel.
or it depends on how severe your things are, how truthful you're being. And Tango says it is a gray area, which is funny because BPD people see more in black and white. And I told that same thing to my mental health professional that BPD people see very much extremes of it's this way or this way. And that's the mismanagement of your emotions is that it has to be these two things. And it can't, the in between is where things get lost. That gray area is the things that some BPD people necessarily miss and like it makes you do these things like irrational decisions and impulsivity and anger and splitting because you don't see that gray area. It's one thing has to be this way or one thing has to be the other way. And it's usually very extreme options. So
Really.
my biggest misconception that I was told from the very beginning when I was first diagnosed with BPD years ago was that there's no help. Like it's just something you have to deal with forever and there's nothing to do. And then when I got my current mental health professionals, my prescriber and my counselor, they said, "Who told you that? That is inherently wrong. That's insane. That's like really old thinking. There is DBT therapy now. There is counseling. There is even medications like Vraylar and stuff that will help with certain parts of it." And so like there is people that I watch every day on the internet. I watch BPD stuff, and literally it will tell you like there are people that are in remission, and essentially it is learning how to manage your emotions. And the same way this criteria is a checklist of things that are wrong with you, it is a checklist that you can go back up and fix those things inherently as you fix your emotions. And as you do that, you become once you get through them, you become in remission, just like you are with cancer or whatnot. So I think those are great misconceptions, and I think it's a lot of what people hear. Um, what to you guys is the first thing that brought you to even think about BPD or hear about BPD or study BPD or even want to look into BPD?
Husband wants to talk.
Absolutely, come on, buddy.
Anger.
His anger is his BPD.
Okay, is that the one thing that like maybe I should look into some sort of thing and maybe BPD might be the answer to my anger issues?
He said yes.
Okay. Well, and that's good. I mean, it's good that you recognize that. Like, hey, maybe I have a problem, and maybe it's BPD. Um, what about you, Tess?
It's just something that ran in my family. Like all the females have it in my fucking family. Not even kidding.
You know, it's
And that
crazy.
is
BPD is actually harder to diagnose in most females than it is men.
fucked up. It took them from the age of 16 until I was like 20 something to actually sit down and say, you have BPD.
And you know why that is, though? My mental health professional told me this. That actually, if teenagers are diagnosed with BPD, most of the time they're misdiagnosed. They're not accurately usually diagnosed until they're in their mid 20s, 25 or so, when the brain is considered fully formed. Is when most mental health professionals feel very comfortable in diagnosing people. That if before that you're diagnosed with BPD, there's a chance, and it's usually a good chance that you may not have complete BPD or even have that because people change so inherently much in those formative years of 16 to 25.
Gee, but
ADHD is different from BPD.
I was
Courtney,
hyper when I was a
Oh,
child.
aunt had it, and
With the hyper.
had very similar symptoms and experiences.
what was that?
My aunt had it, and she and I have had very similar symptoms and experiences.
Okay.
For
Tango said she was diagnosed at 14 after an attempt. And I assume you mean an unaliving attempt, which yeah, and you're 27 and you still have it, and it's not like it can't be properly diagnosed, but it's not usually. Sometimes it is often misdiagnosed at that young. And
No,
I think it's something maybe it's something you may always have, but like it's tough to call sometimes with that.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
She said for a while they thought she was misdiagnosed.
oh yeah, okay. That makes sense. Like it can be, and it's hard to, because of the changes in those formative years where you're trying to find yourself. You're trying out different things. You're trying out different personalities. Like teenagers inherently become chameleons for some time in their lives. Everybody does.
We
You know what
do.
I'm saying? And I think that's just inherently finding yourself. And I think even I think even people in their 20s and 30s still do that. You know what I'm saying? It took me until my mid 30s to be the person you see today, where I inherently like. What'd you
You
say,
never,
Tess?
you never stop trying to find yourself. It's a
No,
thing
but
that you always do. Sometimes you just get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm Gucci right here. I'm a
no, listen,
chill.
that literally like I was in my mid 30s once I started getting mental health help that I came to terms with like this is who you are. Maybe you should just be good at who you are. And so like the person I am now has been formed from that, but it wasn't always this. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't.
How did you come about doing that? Because some people may not understand exactly
Um,
how to seek it.
I literally okay. So when I was like 23, I was a very sad, very annoying boy. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a sad bitch boy. Like I was. How fucking I can only admit that to you now, many years later. Because if you'd have talked to me in my 20s, I'm like, bitch, I'm the coolest. But that attitude of like I'm kind of the coolest. I've talked about the fucking tattoo on my hands and what it means and how much of an asshole I was when I got it. Um, that kind of like moment of like I have the words, but I have the Latin words coram dei across my hands, which means in the presence of God. And people are like, "Oh, you're religious." I'm like, "No, bitch. I just want you to know where you are when you shake my hand." That sort of fucking thought process was how I kind of rounded the corner on being a sad bitch boy. Um, but it was a fake it till I make it type of thing. I literally kind of kept trying to just work out things that I kind of liked, but like see where they worked out in kind of like sociological terms. And sometimes I wasn't that person. I wasn't as genuine as I am today, but I tried to be. Or I wasn't as charming as I am today, but I was trying to be. That sort of thing where like I found these things that I like, but like, okay, I'm trying them on and like, yeah, maybe these shoes don't fit, but maybe I'll grow into them. That sort of thing until like I realized like as I slowly figured out myself, I figured out like, hey, you can be these things. Like, yes, like if you're good at being charming, like if you're good at like pretending to be charming, you can be charming if you want. If you're good at being pretending to be genuine, you can be genuine if you want. Those sort of things are inherently there, but you're just trying to force them or you're trying to use them as a weapon in some way. I learned that like you can be these things if you just try to be you, if you're truthful to yourself. Like my whole thing is I tell people all the time, like, I don't care if you deal in deception, but if you deal in self-deception, that's not okay. Because self-deception is the problem where you're the problem and I can't help you. And so like I just learned to be truthful to myself. And I figured out like, hey, I like these certain things about me. Maybe I should work on those things and I should try to work on that to the point of like, okay, and then be good at those things. And I tell people now the only thing I'm really good at is being me. That's all I got. Because I am inherently now the proudest I've ever been of myself in my life. Despite everything I've done and all that stuff, like right now, despite all my issues and everything, I still am as proud as I am as I ever been of myself and the best version of me. And it's because I'm truly feel like I'm being me. Like this is me at my core. And so that's kind of how I grew into that. So like it was a weird transformation. I'm just like literally like trying on things and faking it until I realized like, okay, maybe you are these things. Maybe you're not a bad person. Maybe it's not okay to be a piece of shit. Maybe you do need mental health help. I mean, like you guys are all much younger than me. Like I got my first mental health help when I was 35. That's it. I got no other mental health help until I was 35 years old. So imagine adding 8 more years or 9 more years or whatever onto your guys' life now with no mental health help. Take away all the mental health help you've had to this point. It's rough, right? Like, wouldn't that be fucking horrible? That's what I had to endure. And so, like, in doing that, like, I'm 42 and I'm not really good at mental health stuff. So that's why I'm kind of proud of myself for being where I'm at today, despite all of my things I've been through, and kind of being proud of working at who I am authentically, I guess. So that's what kind of made me like when I was told about BPD, like I was just like I thought it was like a fucking death sentence. So the more I've looked into it and the more I know now, like I obviously think it's a good thing we're doing this and kind of spreading good information. So like let's see. What is it? Well, I mean, we've talked about kind of what BPD is and kind of mental health disorders that it can kind of get confused with. But what does it feel like you guys like? We're all different parts in our BPD journey. What's it feel like to you guys to live with BPD day to day? What does that mean right now in your journey?
Right now, it's a little bit like hell because I was unaware going into this that we would have things like auditory hallucinations or just hallucinations in fucking general.
Yep.
The feeling of bugs crawling all over you. That's new to me. That's like 2, maybe 3 months old into
It's rough.
a 4-year journey, and it is the worst thing ever because I'll be sitting there having a conversation and I just start scratching and somebody thinks I'm fucking cracked out of my head. I'm like, no, it's just my fucking BPD, homie. It's a thing. And like went to the doctors and they asked if I saw or heard shit. I was like, homie, I have BPD and auditory hallucinations. He just went, ah.
The severe paranoid thing. When my BPD flares up, I get the same severe paranoia, and when the paranoia hits, it's the voices and the seeing things kind of fucking really goes to the max. I have a rule that like sometimes people will be yelling my name or they'll be trying to talk to me, and I just ignore it until they like will like touch me or like really go out of their way to like make themselves present. And when they do that, they're like, "Hey, like you were like, were you ignoring me?" I'm like, "Well, I was ignoring everything because I realized that if you ignore things, reality will eventually just make itself real." And that's how I know. Otherwise, I just ignore it. And so like that's kind of how I deal with that. So like I get it. Like it's a tough thing. It's not one of the things that's talked about much. Most people think that's like a schizophrenia type of thing. I'm like, it's not. It's just it's part of having part of you can't manage your emotions and like and the mood disorder thing is like literally like sometimes those those feelings make you slide off the face of the earth till it becomes essentially schizophrenia.
Like right now, I have a state and court mandated therapist and shit. So they're in the process of trying to say I have schizo instead of BPD, but I show more BPD than I do schizo. All they have to back up the schizo is my hallucinations.
Which is I mean, which is an old way of thinking because a lot of stuff about BPD has come out and has been, people realize that now that like the severe paranoia and the severe ideations and severe thinking, that black and white thinking that Tango mentioned becomes so severe that like, yeah, you manifest things in your own brain. And that people
It's
can
awful.
tell me I know something's true in my brain and you can tell me something and I can go, okay, what you're saying is logical and true, but it's still not true because this is true in my brain. And making those two things rectify is impossible.
Fucking awful.
It is. Courtney, what is it like day to day for you?
For me, it's just being really mindful every day. Recognizing dialectical statements often has really helped me with the black and white thinking and recognizing like, okay, yeah, this is true, but other things can also be true at the same time.
Yes.
And recognizing what emotions are mine to carry and what is other people's issues for them to carry and not trying to take on the whole world.
I agree. And that's tough. That is also a struggle. The kind of you can't fix everything, but I need to manage my own emotions without managing the world's emotions.
Exactly.
I think. And Tango here says it's pure exhaustion. I agree with Tess about the hallucination, overstimulation, and the feeling of being forgotten. Like that fear of abandonment, I think, kicks in. and shreds away. I mean, mentally, and I end up physically overexerted from panic attacks. Panic attacks are I wake up at times and have panic attacks literally where I haven't even opened my eyes and I'm in the middle of a panic attack. And so therefore I don't know how to stop it because I don't know what started it. And people are like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "You just have to manage it at that point because if you don't know what started it, I can in no way, shape, or form stop it. Like it's impossible." And that's really exhausting. It's really exhausting. Yeah, and at some every morning, sometimes like when you just have stress, you go to sleep with that stress. A panic attack is triggered in your subconscious, and like before I even blink my eyes or whatever, like I will wake up crying. I will wake up just in a moment of fear, panic, and I don't know why, and I have no way of even grasping onto why. Like I can think about why, maybe. Hey Courtney, welcome back. Um, you're fine. But yeah, it causes you to just associate really bad, is what she says. And sometimes, yeah, like sometimes even hearing things like I have people who will, literally reassure me of like, hey, I always tell people I have the sky is not falling counsel that like I need you to call and tell me the sky is not falling. And it sounds crazy because that sounds like some childish shit, but I literally need to know that like whatever little bullshit is literally unhinged me, I need to be rehinged by you telling me the sky is not falling. And that ability of that logic is what kind of helps ground me. Um and so I understand that whole thing of like that's what it's like some days. Some days it's like, hey, listen, I need to know the sky's not falling and I might need to be reassured of that every 5 minutes until I'm okay. And that seems like a lot, but like sometimes that's what it takes. And like I'm very good at drawing very straight lines where you go, that seems like a straight line, but not quite. But like I can draw them so straight, and people are like, I get your logic there, but that's not actually reality. But it is the reality to me. And so like it's just one of those things.
That is what our therapist would call distorted reality.
Yes,
One
and
of the cognitive. Yes, cognitive.
yes, cognitive behavioral like or cognitive distortions. Yes, and that's the sort of thing. There's a whole list of them that people have, but yeah, I'm just really good at that whole thing. So like, um, what do you think are some of the most misunderstood symptoms? I know we've mentioned some of them, kind of the hallucinations.
My favorite is what they call a chameleon like identity, but it's where you're like in a relationship or you're such best friends with someone that you start to take on their personality, the shit they say, how they act, everything. But you're doing it out of love, and most of the time, you don't even know you're doing it. You only know that you're doing it because you've been told. Like, I'm very aware when I do it. I'm like honest. I'm like, I'm copying you. Okay, I love you, but I'm copying you now.
Well, and that usually stems from a favorite person forming. And having a favorite person sounds like a crazy thing to somebody if you explain it, but like that is a thing in BPD is having a favorite person. And that favorite person is literally everything to you. And so um
You're
you know
worth more than air,
yeah, and so
essentially.
you literally want to imprint them on you in every single way. You know what I'm saying? And they literally become like the form for your life. You know what I'm saying? They become the template for your life. And so that sort of thing is very common. And it's one of those things that like um because people all the time are like, "Well, how do you know a BPD relationship of some kind is not just your BPD, it's an actual genuine thing?" And I'm like, it's hard. And that's sometimes you can't separate it. Um, there are things where you can do it, but like I think it's very much you have to be true to yourself, and I think the other person you need to be true about the other person, and there's sort of instead of glazing over their red flags like some are want to do, like maybe you need to be reasonable and responsible and like think like, hey, there are these things, and do I really feel this way or do I just think I feel this way? and that's a really hard thing to rectify, I think, as well. Um, what was even the question? Jesus. Um,
Misconceptions.
yeah, the misunderstood symptoms. Yeah. What do you think, Courtney, is some of the misunderstood symptoms?
Um, Probably how strong and urgent the fear of abandonment feels.
Especially the imagined fear of abandonment, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Like how intensified that can be,
Right, because
and how much it can control everything that you do.
yes, as people in this group may have experienced at one point in time or another, I even I know I seem so logical and so mentally stable, but some nights when left to my own devices, when all these beautiful people are sleeping, I may get the craziest thought in my head. And when none of these people are here to field the questions of, is this reasonable? I may make rash decisions in the middle of the night and I send out text messages that may need to be walked back at like 9 a.m. And so, like, at 6, I'll send a message. And by 9, when people wake up, they go, oh, what? And I go, never mind, just kidding. Like, but then it's in a whole explanation of like how it's feeling and like, do I stand on this decision? Do I not stand on this decision? Where do I stand on business? Like here, like, and a lot of times I walk it back. It's just one of those things of, hey, you got to kind of be reasonable and true to yourself. And like sometimes I slide off the face of the earth, and when I get back, I go, oh man, I sent some messages. Shit. That sort of thing is, yeah, it's rough because that fear of abandonment can get so crazy, and then like either you talk yourself off the ledge or somebody like talks you back down, and you're like, fuck, I said some crazy shit in that state of mind. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy. Um, Tango says disassociation and more so coming out of it and not knowing we're doing it, what you know you were doing in the first place. This is true. Like sometimes you check out if you're not happy, you don't know what a disassociation is. It's essentially kind of the hold on. Let's see what my fucking cheat sheet of disassociation says here.
I call it mentally checking out for a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of what it is.
I
Yeah.
just need a hard reboot. I'm running on Windows 97, homies.
Well, it says during periods of extreme stress, paranoid thinking, or dissociative symptoms, depersonalization or deracialization can occur, and these are experiences most often triggered by real or imagined abandonment. These experiences tend to be transient, lasting minutes or hours, and it's just kind of you're checking out of reality where you don't feel like the feeling of like I'm watching my own life from above, or
So,
I'm not here, I'm not real, I'm not me, like that sort of feeling, which is a crazy thing to think about, but like yeah, it's the pause button on life. It's you go to life's waiting room and you're not here.
see, it talks about abandonment being associated with that. I feel like it could also be associated with or contract. However, we make these big scenarios up in our head. I will sit
Catastrophizing.
there. Yes, I will sit there and think about shit that happened and just like twist and turn it in my head to like a different thing. Like
And
it
those are
needs to happen this way instead. I need to go back or this is going to fucking happen.
the straight lines that I can draw, and I can logically like I'm so good at somehow like arguing my way to like you're like that's almost a straight line, but not quite. But like I see you almost had it, but not quite. That's not reality. And that sort of thing. And then when you go to those places, when you disassociate, that's where I think that gets kicked into hyperdrive, where you're like, your brain is like, okay, let's fucking formulate this crazy theory. Like, it's the conspiracy theory formalization fucking period of reality.
Yeah, bud.
So that sort of thing. Okay, so many people associate BPD with emotional intensity. Like I said, forming really quick, really intense relationships,
Yeah.
anger, those sort of things. Could you describe what the intensity is like in your real life? Like, what is your level of involvement in Project Mayhem kind of thing?
Can you rephrase that?
How intense do you feel you're like in your everyday life? How intense do you think these things are? Like your, because like, okay, the example I have is like sometimes when I'm being genuine and like I manage my emotions externally, so I talk about them very candidly.
Mhm.
In doing that, if I'm being genuine with somebody, somebody goes like, "Hey, are you love bombing me?" I didn't even know what that word was for a long time because I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm just being a genuine human being. But in doing that, like, 1 out of 10, like one being just like an emotionless fucking Barbie doll, and 10 being like, fucking, oh my god, Tess, I want to glaze you so hard, like all the
I,
time. Where do you fall on like a good day, a bad day, a normal day?
I can't answer that how you wish because it comes and goes. I can be perfectly fine and then a scenario hits and then I'm ready to fucking off myself at that point. It just depends on that day and who decides to fuck with me and how.
Okay, that's a reasonable answer. Courtney,
Um, for me, it's been a lot better recently. I think in choosing to be single and not date, I've been able to really get to know myself better and my emotions better and like not feel things so intensely. But when I do feel things intensely, it's like the most extreme feelings ever conceived, and there's no breaking me out of them.
You,
okay, uh, do you do you act on those feelings, or do you genuinely try to give yourself time to
I
maybe
I
see how
have a
this rides out in a day or two?
I have a bad habit of being impulsive on those emotions, and because they feel so real
And
and
so
the
intense.
urgency is so intense that I'm like, I have to do something right now to fix this.
you want to
And
share some of these impulses if they're not like
like
bad?
the last time that I had a really bad episode, um, I was really angry at my roommate. He was doing drugs in the house. And so to fix it, because I knew I was going to feel that angry until I lashed out, instead of lashing out at my roommate and potentially getting kicked out, I called Kyle and I
Punching
just
back Kyle.
ripped him apart. It was so horrible and mean to him. And I felt better afterwards.
I
and,
mean,
and Alyssa was like, that is not how you handle things.
That is not necessarily. Listen, like I tell people, like maybe if you have somebody, like I will tell people, like if you need to call me or come over and punch me and scream into my chest or do whatever, that's cool. I'm good with it. Let me know ahead of time. Don't just call me and fucking lash into me because like I
I
might
told
take it
you,
wrong.
I literally like if you need to scream at somebody and you don't want to start a fight or some shit, just call me, scream at me, cry at me, bitch. I'll fucking cry with you too. I
Right.
don't have hormones in my body. Let's go. I cry at a fucking squirrel walking across the road.
Yeah. I'm the same type of way.
So let's go.
I,
Scream at me.
yeah. No, I listen. I kind of I agree with that, and I see the whole thing in it. I think a lot of mine is I have learned to manage my emotions. The only way I've learned how to manage them is talk about them and manage them externally because I can't deal with them internally. And so, like a lot of it, you guys have experienced. Like I will fucking express my emotions outwardly and want to know, like, hey, I know, like most people don't want to talk about their own emotions, let alone mine. So, like, fucking when people do, I appreciate it. So, like, I will literally the world becomes my sounding board of hey, like check it out. Like this is how I feel. Is this reasonable? Is this unreasonable? Like am I unhinged? Am I where you know what I'm saying? Like and that's when things get really intense. I try to do that to try to kind of, you know, not, you know, punching bag somebody if I don't have to. But sometimes I just have to do that too. Like sometimes I just have to fucking lash out and I lash out at the wrong times and the wrong people too. Or like I will, you know, let something get to the point where like I start saying things and people are like, whoa, 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 like fucking calm down. It's not that fucking serious. I'm like, well, that's just how I feel right now. So I get it. Like it's all reasonable in relative terms. So let's see. Um, okay, so in speaking of that, like because like you mentioned Kyle and stuff, whatever and whatnot, and all these sort of things, and being single, Like, where how has BPD affected your relationships platonically and romantically in both of your guys' lives?
For me, it's opened the door for a lot of narcissistic assholes to manipulate me and to use my crazy against me, which has been rough. It's one of the many reasons why I'm taking a break from dating for a while, because for a while the lines got blurry of like what a healthy person looked like to me, and I was just so desperate to be loved and to have somebody that it didn't matter to me how awful people were to me, and I was allowing a lot of things that I shouldn't have allowed, and it's continued to mess me up long term. And so like I recognize now that like taking a break from relationships has really given me a chance to perceive what I want and what love really looks like,
Mm-hmm.
and what kind of healthy relationship I might want in the future.
And has that in turn, if you have a healthy relationship, does that make the healthy relationship seem like, because I've experienced this myself in like having shitty relationships, when you experience a healthy relationship, you inherently go, whoa, what the fuck? No, I don't, this doesn't feel okay. Like, because you're so used to shitty relationships or toxic relationships that, like, even in friendships, like when you have a healthy relationship, all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, what's going on here? Like, your skepticism
Yeah,
gets flipped and you freak out. Like, the first time I experienced like a real healthy relationship, I was like, bro, I don't know, this is fucking, something's not right here. Like, this is fucking weird. I don't like it. I don't know how to feel, because I didn't know what those feelings felt like, even though they were good feelings, which is kind
right.
of a crazy feeling to go like, this good feeling, bad, like, so I didn't know if anybody else experienced that. It's like reverse imposter syndrome of like, I'm in a good relationship. No, like that whole thing of like,
Yeah. Yeah, and I've had a history of sabotaging healthy relationships because I don't know how to function in them, and I freak out and I
mhm.
panic, and I'm like, something's gonna go wrong, so I might as well just make it go wrong.
So
Well, and that
It's just
sabotaging.
such a bizarre thought process, but it's totally how I think sometimes.
and
It's
that
natural for BPD.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I get accused of love bombing, because like I get to the point of like these super happy emotions, and so I want to let them all out because I'll freak the fuck out. So in letting them all out, people are like, "That's a lot, man," and I'm like, but that's just how, that's like genuinely how I feel. You know what I'm saying? And like letting them out, like, if I keep them in, like, I'm gonna blow this. I'll blow this shit up today and move on. You know what I'm saying? Just because of the same feeling of like, you know what? Something that it's probably gonna go wrong anyway. I'm just gonna fucking. I'm not gonna let myself get hurt here. Let's go blow this up.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Tess?
It it's a lot similar to Courtney because we are so desperate to love that we don't see when somebody's using us or gaslighting half the time. We're unaware because we just want that love. So it makes it easier for us to just get used and abused and whatnot. And then it's too good of a relationship when you finally get away from that toxicity that you sabotage because you're like, okay, something's about to fucking happen. I'm just going to take care of it before they can hurt me. And I did that for like the first 2 years with my husband before I finally came to terms that shit was wrong.
Well,
So it's a process. It still happens.
shout out him for sticking by you through that too.
Yeah, that part. It's not hard to find somebody that loves you once you do.
No, listen, and if
It
the
just
ones who really love you will stick it out through that, as long as you don't do something so inherently crazy, which we're likely to do, to self sabotage. Like, I'm the fucking. I swear to God, I'm king of the ashes. Like, I've used that in a story before, and it's because it literally comes from the fact of like, bro, I will fucking burn this all down just to say like I am king of something. You know what I'm saying? Just like in
God
my own
knows.
fucking terms. So, that sort of thing, and I'm the same way. So,
Well,
Um,
there's also the other end of it. Like, I broke up with Kyle, even though Kyle would have stayed with me no matter what, because my thing was, this is still toxic. This is still unhealthy. The way I treat you is not okay. And just because you're willing to put up with it doesn't mean that I should continue to be in a relationship with you and treat you this way, because it's not how you deserve to be treated. And
But
I feel bad that I'm treating you this way, and I wouldn't let other people treat you this way. So I
did
need to step away.
that's an important step, though.
you gotta remember though, sometimes by them saying they want to stay, that's their way of saying, hey, I can help you. And it takes a while to get that process down how shit actually helps.
That I think also the willingness to accept the help from somebody who cares is really hard for BPD people
Mhm.
too. Like,
Yeah.
because either it comes across as stubbornness or aloofness or whatever it is that literally is like, hey, like fucking what the fuck? Like, I don't deserve help. I don't want help. I'm
Yeah.
fine. Like, I can do this on my own. I'm better off alone. Whatever. The ability to not let yourself be happy, I think, is something that is inherently stuck in BPD people of like, I don't deserve to be happy. I
Yep.
deserve this pain. I deserve this torture. I deserve to feel these horrible feelings because when I feel good feelings, it also fucking blows up. So I might as well
It's
just feel bad.
I did something wrong in my past life, so I deserve all of this.
Right. Which is like
Essentially.
a very BPD justification. Like, I had a past life where I was a horrible person. Like, listen, man, I get what you're saying, and maybe that might be true, but like, you fucking don't know that, so knock it off. Like, so I get that. So what's okay? What do you think? Why do you think there's so much stigma around BPD compared to other mental health conditions? Because BPD kind of gets lumped into like, oh no, all BPD people are shitty people. That's like kind of the fucking thing is the stigma around it is like, oh, you got BPD, you're impossible to deal with. Like, why do you think that gets lumped in with BPD? Like, whereas like other things like autism or ADHD kind of get like a lot of people are just like, I have ADHD. It's like it's just ADHD, and people accept it. Whereas if you're like, I have BPD, people are like, no, you're an asshole. You know what I'm saying? That
I
same thing.
I think it would be like because of our hyper awareness,
Okay.
we have grown accustomed to figure out when people are being fake and trying to hurt us, and when we speak out, they're like, "Oh, you're just shitty like the rest of the people with fucking BPD. You don't believe a word that comes out of anybody's mouth. You're always right." Like, no, homie. I've just learned the shit that you are doing is not
Okay.
normal. It's not healthy.
Yeah, and the hypervigilance, I think, is a thing that doesn't get talked about a lot either.
It
Like,
really
I'm
doesn't.
fucking the most hypervigilant person ever. Like, when people think like I'm not paying attention, like trust me, I'm paying attention until the fucking second I'm not conscious. Like, and even then, like I'm probably still listening. Like that's a hypervigilance,
Yeah.
and it doesn't get brought up a lot, but it's like, and sometimes it turns into paranoia, sometimes it turns into bad things, but like a lot of it is just from the compounding aspects of PTSD and things like that, and complex PTSD that get piled on top of it. That like our trauma forms these hypervigilant moments that like our BPD then accelerates to like and does border on like intense paranoia sometimes, or is just intense paranoia sometimes. So
The recognizing somebody's pattern of their footsteps.
yeah. And
That
then when it's
done
different,
that
you're
for
like, wait
you.
a second, why are you walking different? People are like, what are you talking about, crazy
Like, are you
person?
mad?
Right.
You're
Like,
not walking like you normally do. Are you angry? Did I
you
do
were
something?
you were walking very quietly. Did I upset you? And people are like, dude, you've got to chill. Like, what do you think, Courtney? What do you think is that? What brings up that stigma in your mind?
I think the lack of understanding. I think that there's a lot of stereotypes that people believe, and that people don't really understand it, but they believe those stereotypes, those negative stereotypes, and it becomes extremely stigmatized. Unlike mass media hasn't helped either. Like, Girl Interrupted didn't do us any favors, and
Like,
like,
Um,
it's like a shamed diagnosis at this
yeah,
point in life. If they have like assisted options as an answer to this, does that not tell people how we feel listening to everybody else's opinions on our own mental health?
Yeah, and I think that does affect how BPD people do form their own opinions because they're like, well, if I got to listen to these things, like sometimes I'm gonna be that stereotype. I'm gonna,
We
we become the chameleon in us becomes the things that we hate.
we have people who are opting to do assisted sewer slide instead of living and being able to find a therapist and medication that works for them
Yeah,
because they're
and
so ashamed.
I agree, and that's sort of thing. That's the kind of thing like even like reading just if like the page that I have, which is it's from Neurodivergent Insights, like literally where it goes into the criteria of kind of like all the stuff where it literally like even when people say like intense fear of abandonment in here it literally tells you the common triggers of those sort of things where people may not think of those things like upcoming separation, rejection, even or perceived rejection, perception of being neglected, or a loss of external structure. Like normally to most people that seems like that should be normal stuff, like a loss of an external structure. Like, yeah, no, every stuff changes every day. But to BPD people, that sort of thing is like, oh, this is like my life is changing and like fucking the world's abandoning me.
Yeah, the
It
world is
becomes that,
ending.
right? And even perceived neglect of like, oh, like I feel neglected in a relationship of some kind, and expressing that now, like, oh no, I'm going to be rejected because I'm expressing that. That sort of
Yes,
thing.
exactly that. That is like a daily thing for me. I can't express my feelings the right way, so I shove everything down. Foster care, you cry, you're fucking weak. So I just learned how to shove everything inside, and then it just explodes and all hell fucking breaks loose.
Right. That sort of thing, the neglecting and being the fear of being judged for for that one thinking I'm just neglected. Whereas most people go, hey, like I feel neglected, I'm going to express that I'm feeling neglected. Whereas BPD people go, if I express that, then I'll be rejected, so I'm not going to do that. So we accept the things like shitty behaviors and things like that. Hello,
Sounds like
Alyssa.
me.
Well, Alyssa, you missed the checklist, so we'll do the checklist with you when you get home and see if see where you score on the scale, so we can it's for everybody keeping score at home. We we went down the list and then kind of went through everybody and said, how many of these things did you check for at the beginning. So we'll do that with you when you get home. But so that's kind of the stigma thing. Now, um, what we mentioned harmful stereotypes. What harmful what's one harmful stereotype that you think exists about BPD people? But and how can we challenge that and try to change that in people's mind and show them that that's different?
The one that always comes to mind for me that I always hear from BPD is that they are unlovable because they split. Sorry, trying to avoid the screaming baby in the background.
It's
Because she
okay.
wants to put in her two
And
cents. She wants to
and if
help.
somebody else wants to explain how we can fix that, I will mute myself again.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no, I think we didn't necessarily cover the splitting thing. But I actually do want to mention the splitting thing now, like wherever it is. Geez, which number was the splitting thing? Huh. On let's see. Here it is. Oh, number 2. So okay. So unstable relationships. Um, and splitting is like in these relationships, people with borderline personality disorder often experience instability or interpersonal relationships. Interpersonal challenges often characterized by unstable and intense relationships that shift between idealization and devaluation, which is called splitting. That kind of like, I love you, but I fucking hate you. I love you, but I can't fucking stand you. That sort of thing. And it's often marked by interpersonal sensitivity with extreme efforts, often interpreted as manipulation to avoid abandonment. That sort of thing of like bargaining with your life. Like, if you leave me, I'll kill myself. That is kind of a crazy thing to do to somebody and to use, and it gets used as a stereotype. That's like that's how we operate, and borderline personality people often idealize potential partners, lovers, and caregivers early in a relationship, and this can result in quick and fast bonds, spreading lots of times and love together, sharing intimate details quickly in the relationship. The whole trauma bonding and trauma dumping of like, let me give you all of my trauma right now, and that's going to form this bond that is unbreakable, which causes you eventually to split because a lot of that stuff we feel gets used against us and that sort of thing. And I think in doing that, in the splitting thing of like, when you see somebody BPD split, they literally, it's like they're like, I love you, but, and then they fucking rail into you. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, what is this I love you but thing? And that sort of thing. I think a way to challenge that, I don't necessarily know right offhand. I mean, I think understanding the difference between BPD trauma bonds and trauma dumping and that sort of thing and actual bonding is how we can kind of challenge that. Because there is BPD people can inherently form good bonds and good things, but I think they also can form really kind of crazy fast bonds that like are based not in reality. And so knowing the difference and knowing yourself and taking the time to talk to somebody and genuinely just continue to talk to them without acting on certain feelings, I think is a way to do that. Anybody else have anything to add to that? Oh, Alyssa's jumping in here.
Yeah, I saw her too. I was like, oh, Alyssa does.
Well, I was just going to say that one of the other things is the high intensity of it as well. Like, it doesn't necessarily make them, like, unlovable or, like, anything like that. Like, that's not the thing. And it even makes them easier to love, in my opinion. Because with my experience with people around me who've had BPD, I love them, including their faults. So the whole part of it is, I think that part of the splitting is having to understand that you can love somebody while still experiencing negative emotions about them.
I think a lot of that is how you express it. BPD people express it a lot of times through anger, which is misdirected, and that's the problem. Like, is understanding like, hey, like this person is splitting, and their anger is not necessarily even aimed maybe at me. It's aimed at something that they're perceiving that may not even be real. I may not feel like I'm going to abandon them or leave them, but they feel like that. So now I'm catching all the strays, and I don't understand why, which causes a lot of communication issues of like, why is this person fucking hurling fucking venom at me? And I'm not even mad at them. I'm not sad with them. I'm not leaving them. And they're telling me I'm doing all these things. And it's very confusing to people who don't have BPD and don't understand that. But like, hey, just because I am spitting venom, but it may be because I feel this way, and it may not even be real. That's the problem. Is like the imagined part of the abandonment issues and things like that, or neglect, is like, well, if you're imagining it and I'm not doing that, how can we rectify those two things? And I think that's
another thing. And I know it sucks in relationships as far as for like validating emotions and validating feelings like that, especially with people who have BPD. Like, they feel like you have to constantly validate the same thing over and over and over again, but continue to validate those over and over and over again, because in any normal person, any type of mental health, there's going to be that level of like, I'm not sure, I don't know, I need you to help me. So validate those feelings.
And that's I actually mentioned that early in the episode of where like sometimes maybe I need you to tell me the sky's not falling, and I'm going to need you to tell me that every 5 minutes until I figure out that it's not. And that sort of thing of like having those people that will be able to do that and that communication, and knowing that like it's not me just having to repeat myself for nothing, like you're repeating it for a valid reason, and that level of reassurance that sometimes maybe just needs to be a little bit, sometimes needs to be a lot. So it must have any other like type of ones that like stereotypes you think exist and how we can challenge them. No? Okay.
Well, another one is that I've heard is that there's no way to treat it and there's no cure for it. And while albeit there may not be a cure, there are ways to treat it. And if you feel that you may have BPD, speak with a medical professional, and they will help you get a plan sorted. That's the best fit for you.
Yep. And that's one thing. That was the first thing that I was ever told when I was told I had BPD was, hey, sorry, there's nothing they can do, bud. You're gonna have to deal with it forever. Whereas now I know that there's things like remission and there's ways to manage your emotions. There's things to learn how to process things. There's ways to go about it. There's even medication to help with impulsivity and things like that. And that's a lot. There's a lot more hope in that thing than saying like, hey man, just you're fucked forever. So which leads me to, so if you had one thing that you would want somebody to hear first, if they were told about BPD, whether they were told they had it or they hear about what it is, what's the one thing you want them to hear first?
It's
Tess?
not the end of the world. You're going to be okay. You have a village somewhere out there waiting for you. You just gotta find them.
Okay. Courtney?
I'd say know that you are loved no matter how much you feel otherwise sometimes. I think that's a really important one for me.
Okay. Oh, Alyssa, what about you? What's something you would want somebody to hear first and foremost about BPD?
The world you created in your brain may be safe and comforting to you, but it's not real. And there are safe and comforting things for you in the real world.
That's good. And I would say something along those whole lines of like, yeah, that remission is possible, healing is possible, learning how to manage your emotions is possible again. Like even if you've never learned how to do it, you can learn how to do it. If you knew how to do it and you forgot how to do it, you can learn how to do it. Like it's learning how to manage your emotions is a learned behavior. And you know, inherently if you didn't know how to do it or you forgot how to do it, it can be relearned. You just have to
And
find
let's
something
be
that works
real,
for you.
most of us, our parents never even taught us, and they were never taught. So
This is true. Like no, a lot of families are not close, and I said I mentioned it before that most people don't like talking about their own emotions, let alone other people's emotions. So like if you find those people, like Tess said, find your village that will let you talk about your emotions or talk about their emotions and share those feelings. Like having the group of people I have in my life nowadays is like group therapy. It really is, and I told my therapist that like it's literally everyday group therapy where like I know these people know how I feel. So if something's off, they can say, oh, hey, what's going on? What's wrong? If, you know, I see the same thing, I can say and do the same thing. If I need to vent, I can vent. If I can feel safe and not judged in the fact of my real or imagined problems. And that's something that maybe not everybody has, but it is out there. And it's the same way I tell everybody you can reach out to any one of us if you feel that way at any time. I think anywhere there's a lot of people that will do that. Just like there's a lot of people who don't like to talk about those things, there's a lot of people that will hear you out and listen to your emotions, and you should do that. Okay. What treatments or things have you found are most helpful for you in your BPD journey? Because I know that it's very important. Like what is something that works. BPD, I think, is a very big thing of I need to find what works for me. There's a lot of things that do work. What are things that work for me? So step away to Courtney.
DBT has helped a lot. Being mindful is a huge part of DBT and just a huge part of being able to be stable. As well as I think taking a break from relationships and being able to have a bigger view of reality than just
One person.
one person. Yeah.
Okay. Tess, what about you?
I don't have anything that honestly works for me right now other than being a cunt.
I mean, sometimes you just got to be a cunty medical doctor.
I've cut my entire birth family off, including my grandmother. So
Do you feel that's healthy though?
for me, yes,
Okay.
because they're just shitty. They only cared about themselves at the end of the day.
Okay. Okay. Um, Alyssa, I know you're kind of maybe not even on your on a BPD journey because we don't know exactly where you land on the scale of what the fuck. But
Diagnosed with everything,
what
which is impossible. I just didn't
what
have the proper medical team.
right? What in fact works for you in just in? I know you said you have some of these things. So like some of the things you do have, what kind of works for you to deal with those sort of things?
My biggest thing, because for me, I feel like the emotion that I tend to feel the most is either rage or depression. So in rage moments, I find it best to yell, but in not at people. And I know
Okay.
that sounds crazy, but scream therapy really does work.
Well,
Um,
I tell people I can be mad, but not mad at you. I can express my
Mhm.
anger, but it doesn't have to be directed at you. Even if you feel like my anger is, it may not be because I need to. I mean, listen, I do harsh vocals, so like screaming into the void is like something I do every day, and it makes me feel so much better.
you have to keep going. There's a in my car.
You guys are sometimes forced to listen to it, but like, it's fun nonetheless.
And then as far as for like if I'm extremely depressed, as hard as it is to sometimes get out of it,
She froze. She's one step too far away from the Wi-Fi. We'll get her back
anyway,
here. There we go.
what I was saying was is that as far as for like the depression, it's a little bit harder for me to manage because part of my depression is it makes me isolate and it makes me believe that nobody cares or wants to hear what I'm going through.
Right.
So the biggest, hardest step for me is to then reach out to somebody.
And that's a big part. I think for I just mentioned that BPD stuff is literally BPD people thinking they need help, accepting help, or wanting to let themselves be happy, thinking they deserve help. I think it's really hard for a lot of people, and it's a really big marketed thing in BPD. Um, would you also want to do per se? Would you want to do the checklist real quick? Do you want to hear it?
We can do the checklist.
Okay. So this is the criteria. And if you have any questions, I have like explanations for this because I know it's some of this seems like very medically mumbo jumbo type of things. And people are like, I don't know what that even means. So like if you have any questions, ask. I have all the explanations of all of this. But one is frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. Okay. Two is a pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships characterized by alternating between streams of idealization and devaluation, which is splitting, obviously. Three is identity disturbance, markedly and persistently unstable self-image or self sense of self. Four, impulsivity and at least two potentially self-damaging areas, i.e., spending, sex, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating, gambling. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, five, recurrent suicidal behavior, gestures, threats, or self-mutilating behavior. Six, affective instability due to marked reactivity of mood, intense episodic dysphoria, irritability, or anxiety, usually lasting a few hours or rarely more than a few days. Seven, chronic feelings of emptiness. Eight, inappropriate, intense anger or difficult controlling anger, frequent displays of temper, constant anger, or recurrent physical fights or emotional fights. Nine, um, transient stress related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms. What's your score for people keeping score at home?
7 out of 8.
Well, it's 9, but
Well, 9. Then
so
the first two, I was not fully, not like I didn't understand. I just don't fully connect with them as much as I do the others. But I know the first one, kind of, yes.
well, see, and
Because when it comes to, let me say specific as to why for the first one.
okay,
Because when it comes to friendships, family, anything like that, I don't tend to care. But when I'm in a romantic relationship, there is that little bit of abandonment issue.
well, let me let me tell you here what this says about intense fear of abandonment. People with BPD often experience intense fear of abandonment. This can result in frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. Common triggers include upcoming separation, rejection, or even perception of rejection, perception of being neglected, a loss of external structure. These situations can result in profound changes in a person's self image, emotional stability, thoughts, and behavior. The hypersensitivity to rational shifts can result in strong reactions, often involving inappropriate anger. This person's responses will seem disproportional to the situation. Separation, some situations that are planned or unavoidable, will still create a strong sense of despair for the person and may result in extreme protest behavior and actions. The perceived abandonment often reinforces the belief that this person is bad and or invokes the general fear of being alone. So, and that's kind of like that sort of thing where it's that sort of feeling of like I'm a horrible person, this person's leaving me because of that, that sort of thing. And the unstable relationships thing, essentially it says borderline personality disorder often experience instability in interpersonal relationships. Interpersonal challenges are often characterized by unstable and intense relationships that shift between idolization and devaluation. There's often a marked interpersonal sensitivity with extreme efforts, often interpreted as manipulation to avoid abandonment. A person with borderline personality disorder often idolizes potential partners, lovers, and caregivers early in the relationships. This can result in quick and fast bonds, spending lots of time together, and sharing intimate details quickly in the relationship. Trauma bonding and trauma dumping, that sort of thing. The relationship can shift quickly, particularly if there is perceived rejection or abandonment. That may feel and accuse the other person of not genuinely caring or not being there for them. That kind of self-sabotage of like, oh, you don't really care, yada yada yada. There are often sudden and dramatic shifts in relationships. Someone who has once perceived as caring, kind, and wonderful can seem as cruel and punitive at the next moment. This shift often takes place when idolized image breaks down. One way of thinking about this dynamic is as despair turned outward. The despair is too painful to metabolize, so it is turned outward through the devaluation and anger, that sort of splitting type of thing that we experience.
Okay, so then would we consider that because for me, like I was mentioning with the whole, when I get into depressive episodes, that I tend to isolate because it's not necessarily one person in general, but I just feel that everyone in the big picture of the entire world does not care about me.
Well, and that isolation seems more like the abandonment thing because you feel like, oh, I'm bad, I don't deserve love, so the whole world is abandoning me. That sort of thing, I think, is and when you devalue at that point, you start to devalue relationships that are important to you because you feel like one thing's going bad. I hate myself, so the whole world hates me. So that's kind of the explanation behind those things. And like I see how some people cannot.
Yeah, I guess the other thing too for me is it's not necessarily that it's like, oh, I think the world hates me. It's more so the world doesn't understand me.
And that's a big thing too. Like you just don't get it. You know what I'm saying? You can't understand me because I'm too whatever, insert adjective here. You know what I'm saying? Or like that whole thing of I don't identify with you because of blank. And nobody will ever get me because nobody will ever understand this feeling.
Yes.
When I try to tell people like the crazy thing is that like in 100,000 years of human beings, we've discovered no new emotions. We just understand them better. We all have the same emotions, and the understanding is the issue. And so if you feel like, oh, you could never understand my emotions, like, well, yeah, everybody has these emotions. Like everybody has those feelings. And like, strangely enough, like you would find more often not that people do understand more than you know. But I get that feeling that kind of despair turned outward though is what it is, because it is literally like nobody can understand my condo in despair. So I'm just going to despair the whole world. You know what I'm saying? Like you live in despair then, like despair becomes your world. And so you go, I would rather be alone and be in despair than let that despair be understood because nobody can understand it. Meanwhile, like there's a lot of condos in despair, I can tell you. So, you know what I'm saying? Like as a person who has had one there, like there's a lot of fucking places that like that's where we know and live and So, like, I mean, to be considered for BPD, you actually have to have 5 of the criteria. So you would technically qualify. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm just a medical doctor with a lot of titles after my name. We're all just celebrating doctorates around here, Alyssa. So I'm sure you got yours. Your name is not reflecting as such. So shout on your doctorate as well.
The doctor of
But
death.
yes, the doctor of death. That is right. So you know, in that we kind of covered in the whole thing here. Since we you missed some kind of the things like we talked about like BPD and its common misconceptions, what first drew us to BPD, how BPD is different than other mental health disorders. What does it feel like to have BPD every day? The misunderstood symptoms, how people associate BPD with emotional intensity, and what our emotional intensity is kind of like, how it affects our relationships, and we oh, actually, I missed this one, but we can all do this one too. Share an example of one moment where you felt especially misunderstood because of BPD, like a specific thing, whether it was a symptom or like somebody heard you had BPD, or you just a BPD moment where you were having an episode. Like, what's one moment where you felt like I fucking can't do this because somebody just doesn't get it because of BPD? Tess?
Mine would be my eating disorder. It's one of the uncommon fucking symptoms, and I unfortunately got it. I've lost over 200 something pounds in like the last 8-9 months.
Does not help.
And I'm like way below my fucking weight for my age. And everybody just assumes it's anorexia or shit when they hear that I have an eating disorder.
Which
And
is
they
part of the things of like, this the sections of like impulsive behavior, whether it's sex, substance abuse, eating disorders, that sort of thing. That sort of, yeah.
So instead of hurting myself or spending all my money now, I quite literally starve myself to the point I don't know when I'm hungry until I have the pain.
Right. Courtney?
Probably like when I've been in relationships and people are like, why won't you leave? And they don't understand that like need to be loved, even though like it's clearly
Even
not a healthy
toxically.
person. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Alyssa, do you kind of have something? I mean, I know you necessarily don't have the diagnosed BPD, but like something that like people think you have BPD, or like a BPD moment of like, I'm experiencing these BPD like symptoms. How were you misunderstood in that moment?
Well, I feel like the biggest one for me is as far as more towards depression than anything, like as from it, if we're gonna say from BPD,
Yeah.
but more depressive episodes that I've even had experiences in my youth where I had friends tell me they can't be my friends anymore because I'm so sad. And they can't handle being around somebody as sad as I am.
Yep.
And that is very heartbreaking to hear, especially when you're dealing with like already being depressed, dealing with these things, and then having people say, I can't deal with you.
Right. And I'm sure we've all had that. Like, I've had people just be like, bro, you're too much. You have no off switch. You're like this all the time. And I can't fucking take you. You just eventually wear people out. You could become overbearing in whatever aspect of your personality is kind of that thing that you have. My biggest one is the love bombing thing, like I mentioned before, where like I'm generally trying to express happy feelings, and I get accused of love bombing or not being genuine. And people will be like, what you're saying sounds genuine, but it also sounds like a line. And it's like, I'm just trying to express my feelings in an eloquent way that like it feels good to me, but also is not going to make me go off the rails. And I literally didn't know what so many people have said the word love bombing to me before. And I'm like, what is this term? What are you talking about? Like, what is that? And like, then they told me, and I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying, but like I can't just be a genuine human being that's like expressing positive emotions. And that's a lot of what I've gotten before. And like I also have experienced the thing with Alyssa where like literally people are just like, you're fucking too much for whatever insert personality trait here. But like, you're too much. Um so that I think is a good thing to like realize that like we've all had those moments of like people go through those things. Um so so okay, how can somebody support themselves during an emotional spiral? Because I know like we all have each other kind of, and we have a whole group of people that we can kind of go to when we spiral. But one thing you can kind of you turn to if you are have nobody to turn to. Sometimes your support system is all busy, and like I've had these moments where like you kind of fly off the earth. Like what's something that bring you back to during an emotional spiral? That's one thing you can do to try to support yourself in that moment, because I mean that's like a good thing you have to learn, because sometimes not somebody's not always available. Courtney, Tess will be back. She's got chicken issues.
Um, self care is a big one. Um, doing things that you know will help you feel more calm and relaxed. Another big one is the warm line. If you're in crisis and you have nobody else, call the hotline.
There you go. And that's, I mean, that's a big thing. Like that's, and you have those sort of things. And like I've told anybody, even if you don't know us, like we're all very, very available. We're all on social media. We're all, the podcast is out there, and like you can get a hold of any one of us. Um, and just knowing that, like I don't know everybody. And if you reached out to any one of us, if it's a mental health issue, like I don't know you, but I'm going to try to help. So like know that like there's always somebody to reach out to. I think is a good thing. Alyssa, what's one thing that maybe if you're in a spiral emotionally, like what can you do? Because we've all seen each other spiral in this group. So like, what's one thing you can do if none of us are available?
Walk away for a second and breathe. Walk away for a second and breathe is the biggest one. And one of the biggest things that helped me, especially when it comes down to full spiraling, where we're making a plan and everything on that front. Okay. Think of somebody in your life finding you. That's what used to save me, is I would think, how will this play out if my mom finds me? How will this play out if my sister finds me? How would this play out if my best friend finds me? How would this play out if a complete stranger finds me? What would happen? And sometimes just seeing it as brutally messed up as it is can help you realize, okay, this is not what I want to do. I do want to be alive. I do want to be here. And a lot of the times, I think the biggest thing that helped me was one of my counselors had told me is, you don't want to die. You just want the pain to end. And just remember that you don't want to die, because dying just elongates the pain.
Right. And I think that's good. Like I'm a person who has unfortunately had to experience the finding of a best friend of mine dead, and it fucked me up for probably till today. Like, and it's been going on 25 years that this has happened. So like, it's an impactful thing. I think one thing for me is the kind of realization of like figuring out to tell myself the sky's not falling if I don't have somebody to tell me, to try to consult like, is the sky really falling, and to try to like, as much as I rationalize the irrational things, to try to focus on one rational thing that I have, because a lot of irrational things are made up of rational things. Like the most irrational people make up irrational things based on many rational things. That's how you become irrational, because it seems so real because it's based on rational things. And so like I try to fixate on that and like walk it back. And I think if you can fixate on one rational thing, that like no matter how silly it may seem, that one rational thing will kind of help you anchor yourself to the world and not slide off. And whether that's like just it sometimes is as simple as like, I just need to hear music that's going to make me feel better, or I need to watch a show that's going to make me feel happy. something that I identify with is Bob's Burgers, and like even if it's a character on a show, like I feel like this character, like maybe I should like think about like what if that character were to die, and that seems kind of crazy, but like that sort of like thought of like, oh man, like I wouldn't want to see that for that thing that I identify with. Why would I want to? I don't want to see that for myself. And so that kind of just latching on to a one rational thing, Tango's back. Then it's sort of that sort of thing. Tango, you can hop into what is one thing that you can do during an emotional spiral to help pull yourself out if you don't have anybody to turn to. Oh, hi, she's got us turned down. So, but so Tessa's dealing with the chickens. But that's sort of how I feel about the emotional spiral thing too. I would say, um, so we've talked about recovery for BPD. What do you think that looks like for you guys? Like in your even your emotional health issues, like what does that look like for you guys? What Courtney, like what is recovery you on your journey thus far? Like what does that look like going now and going forward?
Being able to be more aware of my emotions and reality, being more mindful. I think I've already kind of entered a realm of recovery and that I'm not having as intense feelings and I'm able to recognize reality more. And so just continuing to be mindful and allow that to grow.
That's awesome, and that's good. Like that's a good thing to think of in recovery. And Tess is back. Hi, Tess. Um,
Hello.
what is one thing that you can do in an emotional spiral to pull yourself out if you don't have anybody to turn to at that moment?
Oh Lord. I normally go and put my thoughts down into like a song or artwork, some shit, something that keeps your mind and hands busy, because if both of those are busy, you're not thinking about everything else.
And that's what like I said too. Like one of those things are just locking onto something rational, no matter what it is, whether it's a piece of music, the show, it's anything that is rational and true and keeps you anchored to this world. Kind of, I think.
Video games.
Yeah, that's sort of like keeping your mind tethered to this world is an important thing.
You're
So I just asked Courtney too, everybody, what we've talked about recovery for BPD and that we believe it is possible. What does recovery look like for you now and going forward?
Right now we are in the process of figuring out what kind of medications would do best to help me with certain things and what else we could do, because there's like all kinds of treatments people haven't ever heard of. I discover a new one every day and I'm like, "Oh, maybe that's an option." You'll get there at that point in your life where you're like, "Okay, I'm ready for this. Let's go."
Absolutely, that's good. Alyssa, what do you think recovery looks like for you now and going forward?
Finding a psychiatrist, because I have only ever done counseling therapy and never had been medicated really. The one time I was medicated, it was on something that I should not have been put on and caused way worse symptoms. So I think that's the first step for me, is finding the proper medical professional to help me.
Okay, awesome. And I think for me, it obviously I've said this before, is talking about my emotions openly and with you guys and anybody that'll listen, kind of uh, managing them externally instead of internally has been very helpful. And in doing that, now just talked to my therapist about this. That like I think I'm at the processing point of like, okay, I can get my emotions out. Now I still have to process them, and that's the hard part. Is like, okay, what do I do with that? Even though I got it out, now I still have to face down an issue. I still have to face down a problem. So in doing that, like now that I've done that, like it's the processing part is the big part of that. So that's I going forward. I want to learn how to do that and do it effectively and do it effectively and efficiently. I think is the problem is like a lot of what I experience is the ineffective the inefficacy of the processing part of it. So that's what I definitely plan on working on and having this sort of thing and like having a mental health professional that I trust. I think is a good step in that. Um, what are some personal wins or milestones that you guys have experienced in your journey? You know what I'm saying, Tess? Like, I mean, what's a happy point of like I'm making steps forward in BPD? Like, even if nothing works for you, there's got to be something. What is something just to this point that like like it's one little step in the right direction?
Learning how to remove the people who encourage your toxicity and your impulsive behaviors. That is like one of the biggest things for me because it's really hard.
Like the identifying of like toxic people that have to go, and I don't want to let
That
them go, but they got to go.
that agree that you should do all these awful things that you have been doing. Like that's a
But
no-no.
I think that's good, and that's I'm very thankful for all of you that I have that encourage positive behaviors and not leaning into the yeah, let's be pieces of shit. You know what I'm saying? So, Courtney, what about you? What is a happy milestone or a happy moment, a win that you have in this battle that seems like a losing battle sometimes?
I'm graduating my mental health program because I no longer need a higher level of care. And I have been in this extreme mental health program for like 10 years now. And I never thought that I was going to be able to move on or graduate. And I am now.
That's amazing, and that's listen. And people are like, "Oh my god, 10 years," but like, listen, man, sometimes it takes that long.
Yeah.
It's fucking being good at mental health is not inherently fucking easy for everybody. Um, so I don't know where Alyssa went. I don't know if Tango has us up, but like for me, I think there was the realization of that I can't internally manage my emotions. So how do I deal with them? I externally manage them. And that step of like, oh, okay, I figured it out. Like there is a way that I can at least get them to the processing step. Because like before it's like I can't even get to the processing step. If I can't get to that, like how am I going to move forward? So the external managing of my emotions, I think, was a real kind of like the realization of like I can do that. And if I just talk about them, I can get to that step. And like maybe I'm not good at that step or whatever, but if I'm at that step, I can learn that step at that point. And so like that one step of like, okay, one thing down now, let's get to this and let's process these things and let's make these decisions that like, okay, even that kind of slowed down the impulsivity for me. And it's like, okay, I'm talking about it and talking about it like gave me a chance to give 1 second of pause to like, okay, if I'm externally managing them, it's 1 second that I'm not doing something impulsive. And so that to me was good. Um Alyssa is eliciting, and Tango I think still has us turned down. So we'll circle back.
I'm back. Sorry.
And okay. What is a happy moment or a milestone that you have that is you consider a win in this whole battle?
What would I consider unfiltered? Wanting to get help. That's a
Absolutely.
win.
That is listen, that's an important step where people
That's
just
the
want to
important
want
step.
yeah, the want to get help is like that step is such an important step of like you want it that's the distinction between like people getting better with a lot of things, even drug addiction and stuff like that. To tie it into the last one is like the want to do that is the step that like will help you around the corner. But if you can't get to that step, like you can't even you know it's like you can't even see the forest for the trees at that point. So and Tango, okay, you're back. Tango, 2 questions. What is one thing you can do when you're having an emotional spiral and you don't have anybody to turn to? What's one thing you can do yourself to pull yourself out of it? And what is one win you have in this struggle of mental health? Sensory grounding. What does sensory grounding mean to you? Like, does that just mean, does it mean auditory? Does that mean touching the earth with your feet? What does that mean? Tapping, music, feet aggressive. Okay. So all those sort of things. Standing in the sun, sunflowering. That's a good way to call it. I like that. I actually like that. I've never heard anybody fucking say that, but that's really cute. Um, what is one win that you consider yourself to have had in this mental health journey that feels like sometimes a losing battle? Stigma. Okay. Let's see. The one I have is awareness. I'm bringing help to bring the stigma. Yeah, absolutely. I think bringing to the forefront the kind of I don't know, the negative stereotypes and how to challenge them and that sort of thing. You're fine. I think we mentioned it before. You might have been out of here when we mentioned it, but like kind of like all the negative stigmas and how we can kind of combat them. That sort of thing of like we asked like what is one like negative like one negative stereotype and like how can we help to challenge those things. I think a big thing of BPD is the stereotypes and the stigma. So what um what is how has BPD helped shape your creativity or your empathy or your perspective in a positive way? Like what's one thing that BPD has shown you about yourself, a positive thing? Tess?
That I'm just as capable as being loved and loving like everybody else who doesn't have BPD.
Which is a good thing to remember. You you are loved and you're capable. I said that to somebody in an affirmation today. Crazy, huh? Courtney, what about you?
Um, Probably trying to think of something different than Bunny. Um,
I mean, it can be the same. It doesn't matter.
that recovery is possible.
That's a good thing. And that's 10 years is a long time, but it is something that you did the work. A lot of people are not going to ever do that work and make it to that point where they can feel that accomplishment. That accomplishment, I think, probably feels better than a lot of accomplishments in your life.
Yeah.
Alyssa?
That being too much is not a bad thing.
Okay. Okay. And I feel that. Trust me. As a person who gets claimed to being too much a lot, I
And
appreciate
also, if someone tells you you're too much, tell them to go find less.
Fair enough. Good answer. Good answer. Tango says she has found that her heart has grown bigger and she's gained a lot of compassion, but she also is learning how to put up acceptable boundaries, which I think is a good thing. That whole thing of like even Tess being able to cut off people that need to be cut off and that sort of cutting out the toxicity in your life, those boundaries that we kind of forego sometimes with BPD. It's good to find that acceptable nature of those sort of things.
I learned all that from Tango. She taught me boundaries.
Hey, listen, boundaries is a big thing, and I think is wonderful. Um, I think my biggest thing too is what I said in the beginning is kind of the I'm only good at being myself thing. Finding myself, I think, is the biggest thing it has shown me is who I really am. That I can be a genuine person, that I can be a compassionate person, that I can be who I am to the best of my ability. And maybe that's the only thing I'm good at, but I have that. I have that ability to like be who I am and be good at who I am in the best possible way and be proud of who I am. So, let's see. Hi, little
So
lady.
one other thing too
Hmm.
is part of it has definitely added to me being a good mom.
And I think
Because
that,
I know already myself what is hard to regulate, so it makes it easier for me to try to teach her what to regulate.
and that's good. And Tango says she agrees wholeheartedly. And let me tell you, moms be momming around here. You guys are fucking magical, all of you. Like, I watch all of you guys interact. And I'm like, fuck, maybe I was not even a good parent. You guys are fucking awesome. Like, and I'm sure I wasn't a bad parent. I wasn't father of the year, but I wasn't also the best all the time. So, you're welcome, Tango. I think you guys are really amazing at what you guys all do. And, in hindsight, looking back, like, I wish I had the help that I have now. Shout out moms at BPD for sure. Moms at BPD out there killing it and still doing great things for great people. Um, if you could go back and talk to your younger self right when you first found out you were struggling with BPD, what would you say to yourself, Tess?
It's not your fault.
Okay. Courtney, you and Alyssa over there having a fucking laugh fest, I see.
We're talking about helping each other poop.
What was the question?
You guys are duty buddies. If you could go back and talk to your younger self, what is one thing you would tell yourself when you first found out you were struggling with BPD?
Um, that I'm not alone, that I'm loved, that it will get easier.
Okay. Alyssa, since you
Um,
don't necessarily know, but
but
what
don't
would you tell
necessarily
yourself?
know. I would just say the biggest thing that I would tell my younger self is that the abuse that happened to me wasn't my fault. And I am a good person, and the things that happened to me prove that they're a bad person.
Okay. And Tango, that she said, you are a warrior. This mental hurdle isn't your identity. It's a link to your in your chainmail. That's a good one. That is a good one. Um, one of the things, I took a picture of this today, so I remember it. When I was like first when I was preaching the affirmation things today, it was because of this. Because I have somebody, a friend in my life too, that has preached the affirmation thing to me, and I think it has helped. And so this is the affirmation that I was given: that I deserve an intelligent partner, I deserve good communication, and I deserve my energy to be matched. And that I am an intelligent partner, I have good communication, and I match energies. And so that sort of thing, I think, is important, because the deserving and the completion of, like, I am those things too, is important, because I think a lot of people can go like, oh, I am these things, but maybe I don't deserve those same things back. And I think it's good. It's a good two-way street to say you do deserve these things, and you are trying to be these things. So, um, do you guys? What is a resource, like one resource that you have found, whether it's a book, a podcast, a therapy tool, a community, do you recommend our listeners to who want to learn more about BPD or that are struggling with BPD? Tess?
I would say if you're not ready for like therapy and shit, definitely reach out to like Facebook groups that are like mental health, not specifically what you think or have, because anybody with any diagnosis can be of help to you. Let's be honest. Everybody helps each other in this world. You just got to find them.
Right. Like you said, there's a village waiting for you.
Yeah. Let us to
Court-
your village.
Courtney?
The DBT skills workbook.
Yes, there's also the borderline personality workbook. They're very similar, made by the same people, I think, but they're both very good. My therapist even recommended the DBT workbook to me, like specifically, if because there's classes, but that workbook is directly what the classes use. So, Alyssa,
Um. Hmm. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. It's a TV show.
Okay, I was gonna
If
say
you
I don't know if that's a great recommendation, but
if you don't like musicals, you won't like it. But it is a show about this main character who doesn't know what she has and goes through the whole show. And sorry, I'm going to ruin it for y'all, but she finds out she has BPD. And so the entire show, the whole time watching it, I felt so connected to that character the entire time I was watching.
okay.
And so I think that's a good way. It's a comedy, so it gives a lighter view of what BPD is like, but it also shows some of the serious sides of it. So there are some trigger warnings in that show. Just a heads up.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. I'll look into that. Tango, do you have what is one like resource? Whether it's a book, a community, a podcast, a person, a group of people. What is one thing that, like if somebody needs some sort of resource or struggling with BPD, like they can look into and it will help. Come to these shows. She said, "Come to these shows. These are my people." No, listen. I hope with all of my heart that these shows we do, whether it's this show or any of the other shows, but this show specifically that we can help people and we can be there for people and we can show people that like just because sometimes like we seem like a well put together group, we are a fucking mess. We are like literally dysfunctional as shit. But I love all you people and yeah, you can come, you can sit backstage, you can come and we are in a studio virtually all day, every day. Um, Tango's inbox is open. All of our inboxes are open. We're all very reachable and available at any point in time. You can look up anyone on the podcast, and even if I'm not available to help you, I can point you. I can literally make the call out to every single one of these people in this group and go, "Hey, this person needs help. Can somebody come and help?" And somebody will come and sit with you and talk to you and help you. And more than likely, it'll be more than one person.
Most of us. Like the other day, you called because you needed help with one of our people. Like 4 of us fucking pulled up.
Right? Like I couldn't be here. I was working, and I said, "Hey, man, one of our friends needs help." And with everybody fucking that was free came. And yeah, as long as we're not at work or whatever, you know, we have pretty differing schedules, but we're always usually available at different times, like pretty much until the wee hours of the fucking morning and early in the morning. Like one of us is always around usually. So, um, but yeah, but we're always reachable, and you know, if you need help and you reach out to us, we'll make ourselves available. So I hope that that's great. And yeah, you know, other than to self promote our podcast, there are other podcasts about BPD. There's a thing called the BPD Bunch. I think are fucking amazing. They're on YouTube. They talk a lot about remission. They talk about different subjects every day. They put out a lot of content. They're really good. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of different women and men that are on that show, and they're really awesome. So shout out those guys. I've never reached out to them. I should though, but they're really great. And also, um, what was I going to say? Shit, I just lost my whole train of thought. Those guys and literally fuck. Wow, I had it and it was gone now. Um, there's that the DBT workbook, that sort of thing. But I literally that just that sort of thing. There's a lot of stuff there, and man, I wish I could remember what I was thinking now. That's crazy. It'll come back to me, I'm sure. But that sort of thing. There's a lot of things available. Um, if somebody who's listening suspects they might have BPD, what's the first step you think they should take? Tess?
Go talk to your psychiatrist. You can only get a positive diagnosis if you go to a psychiatrist. So please don't just assume you have it.
There you go. Courtney?
I'd second going and seeing a psychiatrist.
Okay. Alyssa?
Got a third on that one because that's exactly what I got to do.
Yep. And Tango with fourth with the seek medical professional help. And yeah, absolutely. Like,
I mean, that's kind of, I mean, it sounds kind of funny to say it like that, like, oh, go seek medical professional. But at the end of the day, your friends can help you. We can help you. We can all do what we can for you. But until you have an actual professional who is trained to deal with these type of behaviors, these type of issues, like, you're not going to get anywhere with your friends. Your friends are not trained for this. Your friends did not get doctorates. Okay. Your friends are there to support you, but they can't be your whole support system.
right. And I agree. Like, I did consult my medical professional, my mental health professional before doing this podcast and exactly what we should do. And I can read you the DSM-5 criteria, and even if I did do medical stuff before, whatever, like I also am not. My doctorate is awesome, but like it is,
Why are we eating the whole
the
spoon?
Tony Corp doctorate fucking college. So like, we're not, we're not necessarily doctors all the time. So go seek somebody who is a doctor all the time in their day job. And Tango said also, don't give up. Sometimes it takes a few tries before you get the right person that for you, and that's true. Mental health professionals are not all created equal, and sometimes it's taken me 7 years in my journey of mental health to find a counselor, a psychiatrist, and a fucking primary care physician that genuinely helped me at every turn and every time I asked them. But I've gone through a lot of people in that time, and so like keep trying and don't be afraid to ask questions and seek second opinions. You should consult your friends, you should consult your family, but you should also consult people who do this for a living.
The other thing I would say too is don't be afraid to say the crazy thing to the medical professional.
I just told someone that the other day.
A
They
lot of
said they
people
don't want to
are
hear the crazy
scared
shit
to
in my head.
say it
You need to
because
be
they
like
think that if they're going to
completely
get in
transparent.
trouble or they think something's going to happen to them. But they're there to help you. They are there to make sure you're safe and that everyone around you is safe. And I bet you they've heard crazier.
That's literally their job, is to hear the crazy shit in your head.
That part.
So if you're not going to be truthful with them or yourself, and you don't think they want to hear it, like then you need to find somebody that you feel comfortable with feeling that way, because it's very important that you do those sort of things and you
Even
let
in the most
crazy.
mundane things that you may not think, if it affects you every day or if it's something that's bothering you, even if it's something simple, explain it.
Yes, I agree. Like let the crazy out. You need to. That's part of healing. What
You'll
is one?
bomb all over them. They're okay with it.
Absolutely. What's the one takeaway you'd love for every listener to walk away with about BPD? Like if they walked away with nothing from their show, what's the one thing you want them to walk away with? Tess?
It's not a death sentence. We don't have cancer. We don't need pity. We just need your support and to know that you're ready to listen.
Absolutely. Courtney?
That you can recover.
Okay. And Alyssa?
I'm sorry, I did not hear the question because I was fighting with the baby about peanut butter.
Well, I want that's
Wild.
wild. What's one thing that you want the listeners to walk away with about BPD at the end of the show? Like, what's the one thing you hope they know?
That help is available in all fronts.
Awesome. And Tango said before that being someone who is in therapy and going to school for it, that we hear things of all types and walks. Our job is to be non-judgmental and as supportive as we can be. And that's a good thing. Tango's a good person. She's going to be a great mental health professional. I have no doubt of that.
We listen and we don't judge.
Absolutely. As much as I joke about like we judge in private, we don't really judge each other. You're welcome.
That's
Uh,
debatable.
Yeah. Well, shut up. And just the awareness. Tango said just the awareness that we aren't different. Just we have different tools. And I agree. Like I'm as different as I am than a lot of people. I realize that like all people manage their emotions in certain ways, whether it's good, bad, and different. And they have things. I just manage my emotions externally instead of internally, and like that also makes me a lot for people. But it is the way that I do it, and it's the same as somebody internalizing their emotions as me externalizing them. So I just want people to know that like you need to find whatever works for you. That's the most important part. But know that there is a way. You just have to find what works for you. That's the most important thing I think in mental health is like, it's just like addiction, whatever. Like it has to be what works for you. And there's a lot of tools out there, but like in what works for you, I think is the most important. What is there anything else anybody would like to add mental health wise or something that may have missed?
Just know you're loved.
And Tango just wrote, "You are loved and you are enough." So that's a good sentiment. I think that's it. From all of us, I think that's a big portion. We're lucky enough to have each other in each other's lives. But there is your own village, your own pack of weirdos out there that will listen to your nonsense and will help you with it. Whether it's to make you laugh, whether it's to make you cry, whether it's somebody to vent to, whether it's somebody to judge when you don't need to judge, just to make yourself feel better. Um, you know what I'm saying? Like
I'm
whether
your
it's
girl.
whether it's somebody that you know what I'm saying, somebody won't listen and they're scared of them and you got to call them like Tess, or whether it's somebody like Courtney that like is just there to be sweet, or whether it's somebody like Tango that's there to give you solid advice, or whether it's somebody like Alyssa that is there just to be your bro. All those people are important in your life, and like I think at the end, it is a great thing to have that sort of thing and to know, like, out there when you find those people, that level of concern that those people share for you is important because you will share that level of concern for those people, and it means a lot to all of them.
You're gonna find your Tony like we did. Tony found all of us randomly on TikTok and just brought us all to fucking together. That's
I
all it took, homies.
I get a little bit. I get too much credit. I think. Tango was an add-on. I didn't find her on TikTok, but she was part of the crew that got brought along. So I'll claim founding her too. But no,
You
I
didn't
get
find Courtney on TikTok, did you?
what?
I said, Courtney, we brought you Courtney.
No, Courtney. Well, you were part of Courtney was part of your crew. But I did talk to Courtney before on TikTok and your guys' lives. So like it was
So yeah, that's the
I kind
same.
of interacted with everybody, but I did interview Tess, which kind of brought Tango and Moosh, and I did find Sydney and Alyssa, and that kind of brought them, and we all kind of formed Voltron over here, and here we are. I would like to not take the credit for all that because I mean, as much as I found them, they found me. They put up with me at first to get me to this point. So that's a whole process. I'm a lot at the beginning, so they were able to stick it out and get it out of the mud with me. Anything else, you guys? No?
No.
All right. Just find your lovely people. Be happy. If you guys need anything, we're always available. Cursed Designs LLC at gmail.com. Get a hold of any one of us. We're all on social media. If you guys want to give your social medias out, you can. You know what I'm saying? I know Alyssa's is pretty public. All of the stuff for the podcast is Get Cursed Stay Dead Pod on everything except for X, and then I think it's GCSD pod is on X, but everything else is Get Cursed Stay Dead pod, all one word. Alyssa, I think is Myrick Alyssa. Yep, Myrick Alyssa on everything. Bunny is a fun find. Go find Bunny. We've already done that. Courtney, if you want to give yours out, you're cool. If not, I understand. But we're all available. We can all be found on each other's stuff. Everybody's on my things. We're all on each other's things.
You find one of us, you find us all.
Yep. If you find the podcast page, I promise I'll bring the whole crew. So there it is, kids. At the end of the day, it's Ohio State game week. So we're gonna fucking horns down. We're
We're
going in.
gonna have a party Saturday.
Yep. I'm gonna be in the studio and hinged, talking about football. But I love you guys all. I'm so thankful for everybody here and everybody listening. You guys are amazing. If somebody yells out OH, you yell back IO, and just be fucking nice to people. Help people listen to their problems. Find loving people like this, and go forth. Be happy, children.
And don't be a twat waffle.
There you go. Nailed it. We're out.